Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. Chu capital, the night shrouded in haze. In a common courtyard, Marquis Chu Chang was drinking alone when suddenly an invisible fluctuation enveloped him. Marquis Chu Chang felt the world around him change, and he found himself in an illusory realm. Marquis Chu Chang. Clouds condensed into a figure, who smiled at Marquis Chu Chang. I have been alone in this courtyard, waiting for you all for a long time. Marquis Chu Chang looked around. I didn't expect you to drag me into an illusory realm. Even the famous Two Realms Palace in the Land of Origin dares only meet me in an illusion. The cloud figure spoke. This is Chu capital, personally crafted by primogenitor Yang Feng. We in the Two Realms Palace must also act cautiously, please forgive us, Marquis Chu Chang. Marquis Chu Chang looked at the other party. The Two Realms Palace, a massive force hidden in the dark on the Land of Origin, its inner members' identities a mystery. It was rumored that the weakest among them reached the second realm of Godly King, and there were even followers of the Yuan among them. Compared to primogenitor Yang Feng and primogenitor Lei Ting, Yuan was more revered in the Land of Origin. Yuan was aloof, merely leaving behind some powerful inheritances and precious resources. He himself was too lazy to accept disciples. Of course, there were some ancient beings who, having received Yuan's guidance, claimed themselves as disciples of Yuan. I am just an ordinary member of the Two Realms Palace. The cloud figure smiled at Marquis Chu Chang. However, helping Marquis Chu Chang to achieve a top ranking in this heavenly task would be an easy matter. You want to help me? Marquis Chu Chang looked at him. If he was an official member, this cloud figure would at least be of the second realm of Godly King. An existence that could crush him with a flick of a finger. However, as a first-class Marquis of the Imperial clan, Marquis Chu Chang naturally had his own pride. Marquis Chu Chang, the cloud figure said, you should understand, among the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage, in terms of comprehension and potential, Marquis Chu Ying should be ranked first, Marquis Chu Feng, Marquis Chu Ji probably rank above you. Marquis Chu Chang listened. Their rivalry had lasted for years. Apart from the newly promoted Marquis Chu Yu, the other 6 marquises knew each other well. Without sufficient powerful assistance, you won't make it into the top 3. The cloud figure spoke. I can help you get into the top 3, but I need half of the resources you obtain. The cloud figure looked at Marquis Chu Chang. Marquis Chu Chang looked back at him, scoffed, half. These are resources of the Imperial clan of Flame Wind ancient country. Your Two Realms Palace really is bold. Everything is voluntary. I will not force you, the cloud figure said. If you refuse, I can leave right now and will no longer disturb you, Marquis Chu Chang. Marquis Chu Chang looked at him. Among the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage, he was the least remarkable. Even the newly promoted Marquis Chu Yu had the backing of the great Saint Luo He, a transcendent of the primal chaos realm. If you help me, and I achieve first place this time, I will split half with you. Marquis Chu Chang said, if I take second, you can only have 20%. If third, only 10%. If I don't make it to the top 3, it means you are too useless and don't deserve to share the resources. The cloud figure shook his head. To fully assist you, I need to invest quite a bit of effort. If I take first, I want half. If second, 3/10. If third, 2/10. Anything lower, I can do without. The cloud figure looked at Marquis Chu Chang. This is my final offer, you may choose to refuse. Marquis Chu Chang looked at him, suddenly laughed. Very well, it's agreed then. The cloud figure nodded. Since it's agreed, it has become calmer. Marquis Chu Chang, don't even think of reneging. The price of karmic backlash is something you cannot afford. After saying this, the cloud figure disappeared without a trace. Marquis Chu Chang felt the illusory realm dissipate, and he was still sitting at the table in the courtyard. The price of karmic backlash. Marquis Chu Chang slightly furrowed his brow. He was ultimately just at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, and had never thought of cheating the inner members of the Two Realms Palace. If I obtain the most resources in this heavenly task, perhaps I have a chance to transform. Marquis Chu Chang had ambitions too. He was merely slightly less talented among the 7 first-class marquises, yet could cultivate to the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, which certainly showed he had potential. With enough resources, there was a chance to reach the godly king tier. The treatment of a first-class marquis of the imperial clan and godly king of the imperial clan was starkly different. Among the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage, the most famous was Marquis Chu Ying. Marquis Chu Ying looked out of the window at the night sky. Buzz. He held the transmission token, beginning to contact a friend powerful enough. Sister Bai Yun. A crisp, cold voice resounded. Brother Chu Ying. Marquis Chu Ying was rather humble. Great Saint Bai Yun was the direct disciple of Emperor Qing. Emperor Qing, the strongest among the 13 emperors of flame-wind ancient country, was also adept in teaching disciples. This great Saint Bai Yun, being a transcendent of the primal chaos realm, was extraordinary and unparalleled, possessing treasures bestowed by Emperor Qing, making her incredibly formidable. This time, the 7 first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage also need to compete. Marquis Chu Ying explained, the task of collecting the blood spirit golden pearls will also require your help, sister. Many imperial elites visited Master before, and Master always said, among those of Emperor Chu's lineage, Brother Chu Ying, your talent is the highest, certainly destined to become a godly king. The crisp voice spoke, Emperor Chu's lineage should allocate the best resources to you. Marquis Chu Ying was quite grateful to Emperor Qing. With just a word from Emperor Qing, Marquis Chu Ying's status skyrocketed, and he received a tilting of resources in his favor. Competition among the first-class marquises is a rule set by the ancestor. We still have to compete, Marquis Chu Ying said. Sister, do you have the time for this task of collecting blood spirit golden pearls? Leave it to me. Sister Bai Yun responded. I can't promise first place in collecting the blood spirit golden pearls, but I definitely won't hold you back. I appreciate your help, senior sister. Marquis Chu Ying heaved a sigh of relief. Emperor Qing's words had inclined some godly kings, even those transcended in the primal chaos realm, to be willing to make acquaintances with Marquis Chu Ying. However, the blood spirit golden pearls originated from the borders of 2 ancient countries, where conflicts were typically confined to the primal chaos realm level. If godly king level powers intervened, the border conflicts would escalate massively. To initiate a large-scale war between 2 nations for a subtask in a heavenly task. No one could bear the consequences. Limited to the primal chaos realm level, after much consideration, Marquis Chu Ying concluded that the most suitable helper would be Great Saint Bai Yun. Across the land of origin, among the 2 ancient countries and various other forces, both overt and covert, there were in total 71 who had transcended the primal chaos realm. Naturally, there was a variance in their strengths. Among those transcended in the primal chaos realm, senior sister Bai Yun ranks among the top, Marquis Chu Ying thought to himself. Asterisk 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 asterisk. On the day the heavenly task was issued, the 7 first-rank marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage were all devising plans. Luo Feng was originally walking in his cave mansion. Suddenly, an invisible fluctuation enveloped Luo Feng, attempting to drag his consciousness into a virtual world. Buzz. Luo Feng's soul, on one hand stabilized by the Lai Yuan technique, and on the other hand protected by the star tower. The invisible fluctuation couldn't move Luo Feng's consciousness at all. Able to resist the summons from the Two Realms Palace. The presence in the shadows was somewhat shocked. Who? Luo Feng naturally felt that powerful dragging force, but with the Lai Yuan technique and the star tower simultaneously garrisoning, he naturally was fearless. Whoosh 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 tilde tilde tilde. The wind rose, naturally condensing into a vague figure that appeared before Luo Feng, with invisible fluctuations spreading around to isolate any spying. Great Saint Luo He, have you ever heard of the Two Realms Palace? The wind shadow, smiling, looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng was inwardly startled. Whether it was the lineage of his master, mountain sitting guest, Emperor Chu's lineage, or his currently elevated status, Luo Feng was somewhat familiar with some of the massive forces in the land of origin. The numerous forces in the land of origin were divided into overt and covert types. The overt major forces all had their territories, among them, the two ancient countries were most revered. Tianmu Kingdom, Wanjie Kingdom, the eastern extreme domain, these were the overt first-rate forces. Yu Kingdom, Shi Kingdom, and many other nations were second-rate countries, along with many third-rate countries. Covert forces, however, appeared more mysterious. Covert forces, who were their members? How strong were they exactly? Many details remained enigmatic. Possibly even godly kings from the two ancient countries were involved, or even alien races from outside the braided cage. The Two Realms Palace was one of the top two major forces in secrecy. Two Realms Palace, you have matters with me. Luo Feng looked at the other. Luo He, you are currently just transcended in the primal chaos realm, unaware of the hardships of the cultivation path, the wind shadow said. Only when you become a godly king will you realize that the higher you go, every step is like a chasm. Luo Feng listened. He of course understood. The gap between the first realm of godly king and the ultimate realm was like the difference between mastering one of the 10 fundamental laws and the law of primal chaos. The difficulty was indeed multiples higher, naturally making it increasingly difficult the higher one ascended. In terms of resources, the two ancient countries will only cultivate the imperial clan, the wind shadow said. Even if you are Emperor Chu's direct disciple, he needs to take out a portion of his own resources for you. Now, your strength is weak. He is willing to give you some resources he can no longer use. But what about when you become a godly king in the future, become stronger? The more precious resources you need, which are also very important to him, will he still give them to you, the wind shadow said. In terms of cultivation guidance, you should concurrently cultivate in the great Tao of life origin, destruction, and matter, the wind shadow said. Emperor Chu can only teach you the great Tao of destruction. What about the other two great Taos of origin? What will you do? Luo Feng listened. Concurrently cultivate 3 great Taos. When did I start concurrently cultivating the origin Tao of matter? The two ancient countries are unwilling to part with their most precious resources, so it must be taken by force, Wind Shadow said, looking at Luo Feng as for guidance. The great Tao of life origin and the origin Tao of matter, members within our Wanjie kingdom can guide you, and it will definitely be better than what Emperor Chu can teach. Luo Feng looked at him. What do you mean by all this? I can allow you to first become an outer member of the Wanjie kingdom, Wind Shadow said. The guidance you get in Wanjie kingdom will definitely surpass that of Emperor Chu. He doesn't really teach his disciples at all. What is it that you want from me? Luo Feng studied him. Join us. Wind Shadow looked at Luo Feng. I admire you greatly. It was initially just for a transaction, but when he found out he couldn't drag Luo Feng's consciousness into the virtual world, he changed his mind. Resisting the attraction of Wanjie Kingdom. This was quite rare. This heavenly task will serve as a minor test, Wind Shadow said. you continue to compete for the blood spirit golden pearls for Emperor Chu Yu, giving him 1 or 2. The rest of the blood spirit golden pearls are all mine. A minor test to see whether you are willing to join the Wanjie Kingdom, Wind Shadow said. You surely know, the identity of Wanjie Kingdom members is highly confidential. Joining us will only benefit you, there are no drawbacks. Luo Feng looked at him and scoffed, Marquis Chu Yu is my closest friend. You want me to betray a friend? Boom. Luo Feng waved his hand, and a disruption directly swept over Wind Shadow. Wind Shadow dispersed in shock. How dare you? Wind Shadow reformed, somewhat furious. To give him such disrespect. This is Chu capital. The Chu capital of my master. Luo Feng looked at him, you dare to act here, in Wanjie Kingdom. I must say, I do admire your courage. Wind Shadow was both angry and anxious. Emperor Chu, after all, was one of the pinnacle existences in the land of origin. He might not be invincible in the outer world, but within Chu capital, unless Ancestor Yang Feng and Ancestor Lei acted, Emperor Chu was invincible in the land of origin. Aren't you leaving? Luo Feng clearly didn't want to waste words with him. You don't even understand what Wanjie Kingdom means. Wind Shadow said coldly, nor do you understand what you have refused today. When you become a godly king, you will regret today. Having said this, Wind Shadow vanished without a trace. Luo Feng watched the scene, a cold smile playing on his lips. A bunch of self-righteous fellows. Even if his own sector beast Morosa grew to its pinnacle, could anyone in Wanjie Kingdom provoke a pinnacle sector beast? A bunch of people who only dared to skulk in the shadows. Morosa, Luo Feng communicated through his spiritual will. Master, Morosa immediately came over. Inside a layer of Star Tower. What is this? Morosa looked at the massive corpse of a golden scale beetle, its insides emanating a strong longing and calling, Master, is this for me? I feel that its help to me will far surpass the previous primal chaos realm corpses. Luo Feng watched him and smiled, this is the material for my cultivation. For Master's cultivation. Morosa looked somewhat disappointed, but he would not covet what belonged to his master. I have taken 1% of the materials from this golden scale beetle's body, which is enough for my cultivation, Luo Feng said, this corpse now belongs to you. Morosa was excitedly thrilled. This is no ordinary corpse. It might even be stronger than a normal godly king's corpse. Don't disappoint me, Luo Feng observed him. The fact that the golden scale beetle could engage in combat beyond its level with a godly king highlighted the unique nature of its physical body. Thank you, Master. Morosa was incredibly excited, sensing that this golden scale beetle's body might bring about a profound transformation in him. Morosa began his closed-door cultivation, thoroughly assimilating the golden scale beetle's corpse, while Luo Feng still concentrated on the transformation method. Hum. Hum. Luo Feng watched the 2 particles floating in front of him, his palms edged sharp like a blade, sweeping past the particles. One of these particles split open, revealing 2 merged yin-yang particles inside. The other particle split open to disclose 3 heaps of particles that spun and chased each other. It's all a matter of 1 particle containing the interior. Luo Feng observed, the container particle is like a world in itself, this is the beginning of unity. Luo Feng noticed the commonality between the 2 forms. The trinity form of a perfect primal chaos layer creature makes evolution simpler within its particle world. The 10 directions world form of the golden scale beetle's corpse involves deeper level evolution within its particle world, also drastically changing in power. The evolution within a particle, is it like the world nurturing and evolving? Luo Feng observed, as the numerous mysteries of the 2 major branches of life spirituality and body of life, at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm collided. Time elapsed. Suddenly, at one moment, Luo Feng naturally stopped his cultivation. It's time to leave. Luo Feng had already set his departure time. Even during the intensive cultivation, he would emerge punctually when the time came. On the day of the departure, Emperor Chu Yu also personally came to see off Luo Feng. Brother Luo He, in this heavenly level task, all first-class marquises will try everything. In terms of individual strength, I am ultimately the weakest, my individual tasks. I am afraid I will rank lower. Marquis Chu Yu looked at Luo Feng. So for this task, we need not put too much pressure on ourselves. Just focus on preparing your own individual tasks, Luo Feng said. Leave the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl task entirely to me. Marquis Chu Yu nodded. If the heavenly task had come much later, several hundred eras from now, once he reached the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm, then undertaking individual tasks, his chances would be much better. But such is life, one can't always have everything as desired. The Blood Spirit Golden Pearl skirmish is at the border between two countries. Be careful, Marquis Chu Yu said. Don't forget I cultivate the physical body. Perhaps vying for Blood Spirit Golden Pearl might be average, but my survival capability is unquestionable. Luo Feng spoke truthfully. His combat system, indeed, was at a disadvantage in competing for Blood Spirit Golden Pearls. Life spirituality, body of life, both are renowned for their survivability. Competing with cultivators of causality, space, world, and other paths for treasures, indeed, I am not as smooth as them. Let's both do our best, Marquis Chu Yu smiled. I'm leaving first. If I collect Blood Spirit Golden Pearls, I'll send them back immediately, Luo Feng said. Marquis Chu Yu nodded. Before departing, Luo Feng saw the primordial ancestor, and Moyu Qingyang seeing him off to the side. Luo Feng nodded to the primordial ancestor, then advised Moyu Qingyang, Qingyang, Luo Sa is now also in closed-door cultivation, you should also devote more effort to your cultivation. Yes, Master, Moyu Qingyang immediately replied. Luo Feng nodded, then with a single step, already traversed the void and departed. Marquis Chu Yu watched this scene. I need to also give my best shot at my two individual tasks. Marquis Chu Yu nodded slightly to the primordial ancestor, and Moyu Qingyang, then also left. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Flame Wind Ancient Country and Thunder Ancient Country occupied the most central and bustling territories of the land of origin. The natural treasures here cultivate more abundantly, even the number of cultivators and exotic beasts bred are much larger. The junction of these two countries is even acclaimed as the heart of the land of origin. Here, precious resources are exceedingly numerous. The two ancient countries also have a tacit agreement, letting almost all resources be contested by those in the primal chaos realm. Only a very few resources would provoke actions from the godly kings. I've arrived. Leaving Chu capital, Luo Feng, using the tunneling transformation technique to travel, within just over 3 hours arrived at his destination. With the tunneling transformation technique, Luo Feng, as if melded into the void, looked at the distant sky from afar, where there was an incredibly massive blood-red fireball. The glow emitted by this blood-red fireball illuminated the surrounding land and rivers with red light. This naturally nurturing blood spirit star illuminates a wide area with its glow, also producing some of the natural wonders around it. Luo Feng noted the blood spirit star. The flame of this blood spirit star, roughly every era, will erupt 2 or 3 times, spewing liquid-like flames as well as blood spirit golden pearls. The task lasts 1 era. Within this era, any blood spirit golden pearls that erupt, we need to seize them. Luo Feng looked on from afar. There are signs when the blood spirit star is about to enter its eruption period. There's no need to reach the proximity too early. Who? Luo Feng waved his hand. The law of primal chaos operated, and the chaotic power naturally gathered to form an ordinary cave mansion, which was also equipped with a simple formation that blocked prying eyes. Let's wait for the blood spirit star to enter its eruption period. Luo Feng created a divine power incarnation, sitting cross-legged within a pavilion, sensing the activities of the distant blood spirit star at all times. Luo Feng's true body had already entered Star Tower for cultivation. An era's time, probably just needing to compete 2 or 3 times. The rest of the lengthy era, naturally, was to be used for cultivation. I can feel, there are already many strong presences around the blood spirit star. Lord of Yuan Xiao Mansion merged within the natural world, silently observing the world around the blood spirit star. He also couldn't help but smile, this time aiding Marquis Chu Feng to compete for blood spirit golden pearls. I can also take the chance to spar with one strong player after another. In this contest, as viewed by the Lord of Yuan Xiao Mansion, doing one's best is sufficient. As for the final ranking of Marquis Chu Feng, he wasn't concerned about it. Lord of Yuan Xiao Mansion was more concerned about his own cultivation. A grey shadow, hidden in the deepest part of the void, revealed no aura as it silently observed the area around Blood Spirit Star. Based on my observations, there are at least 9 auras nearby, the grey shadow noted. It seems that this competition for the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl will not be easy. General Yang Su, I believe in your ability to vie for the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl, an invisible fluctuation transmitted. This competition is intense. I dare not claim to gather the most Blood Spirit Golden Pearls, but I can assure at least 10, the Grey Shadow declared. You Two Realms Palace, do not forget what you promised me. The invisible fluctuation responded, rest assured, fairness is paramount in the conduct of our Two Realms Palace. Good, the Grey Shadow replied. During this competition for the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl, Luo he will probably make a move as well. At the critical moment, you can strike against him to sabotage his Blood Spirit Golden Pearl task, said the invisible fluctuation. He is, after all, a direct disciple of the Emperor. The Grey Shadow remarked. The Emperor won't use his power to bully you. A transcendence of primal chaos realm, the invisible fluctuation stated, in a fair fight. Who would bother you? Increase the reward you promised me by 30%, the Grey Shadow demanded. As long as you fully sabotage his mission, I will increase it by 30%, the invisible fluctuation asserted, his power such that those transcending the primal chaos realm generally acted very polite, and dared not treat him lightly. Yet Luo Feng had directly attacked his incarnation, which indeed angered him. But he dared not truly invade Chu capital. A mere transcendence of primal chaos realm. As a member within the Two Realms Palace, an ancient being from the land of origin, accustomed to superiority. Luo Feng's offense indeed enraged him. Clouds in the sky, suddenly becoming sentient, overlooking Blood Spirit Star from afar. Brother Chu Ying asked me to make a move. I'll only take half this time's Blood Spirit Golden Pearls. The clouds surveyed all around, the other half, let the others fight over them. Having secured half, Brother Chu Ying will assuredly rank first in this subtask of the heavenly task, the clouds continued to observe. Onlookers lurking in the shadows, however, did not notice that these clouds had become sentient. Boom. As experts from various factions secretly hid nearby, patiently waiting for the eruption period of the Blood Spirit Star, a terrifying commotion suddenly erupted, attracting the attention of all the concealed experts. What is that? Luo Feng's divine power incarnation also looked over. A gigantic hoof tore through the void, striding across it, bringing its entire colossal body into this space. Such a large body, Luo Feng marveled internally. Its lower body possessed 4 enormous hooves, while its upper body featured bulky, powerful arms, carrying circles of black chains and several short spears. Standing there, its stature was perhaps 900 billion kilometers tall. Its breathing alone created storms. Its eyes, like stars. Ha ha ha. Standing on the earth, It scanned all around, its eyes piercing through various layers of concealment to observe each expert. Members of Flame Wind Ancient Country, your Emperor Chu's lineage treats, gathering blood spirit golden pearls as a subtask of a heavenly task. Did anyone bother to ask if I from Flame Wind Ancient Country agree? It grinned, its gaping mouth laughing even more wildly. Most of the blood spirit golden pearls this time are mine. However, I am willing to sell you blood spirit golden pearls, to the highest bidder, ha ha. His laughter caused ripples across the heavens and the earth, many mountains cracked from the vibrations, and many trees were directly shattered. Seeing this, the experts hidden in darkness felt somewhat troubled. It's the City Lord of Desert Wind from Thunder Ancient Country. This is a task for Flame Wind Ancient Country, yet the City Lord of Desert Wind dares to meddle. Even Lord Yuan Xiao and others felt the pressure. Luo Feng, spying that towering figure, felt a headache coming on. City Lord of Desert Wind. Luo Feng frowned. In Flame Wind Ancient Country, those at the primal chaos layer level generally are forbidden to cultivate the primordial bloodline system. Even becoming a godly king has numerous thresholds, requiring strict verification before qualifying to learn the primordial bloodline system. Because the primordial bloodline contains immense power and some chaotic will, venturing into its study at the primal chaos layer usually results only in losing control. The imperial clan of Thunder Ancient Country, however, allows cultivation of primordial bloodline at the primal chaos layer level. Although many there go mad, and some at the godly king tier even lose control, it must be admitted, those who maintain clarity possess terrifying strength. According to the intelligence I've gathered, the top-tier beings of the land of origin can have their cultivation systems classified into two main types. One type involves using the primordial bloodline, primordial materials, and primoral force for cultivation, generally possessing greater strength. The inheritance and resources for this type are very expensive. Another type involves normal cultivation of the Great Tao, like my 8 Tribulations life form First Calamity, Extermination of 72 Blades Volume 1, which are purely Daoic cultivation. Pure Daoic cultivation requires fewer resources and won't result in losing control, but generally, the power is somewhat inferior. Only by understanding one's own Tao does the strength advance a little further. Using the primordial force and primordial materials for cultivation is relatively safe. Using the primordial bloodline for cultivation is the most dangerous. Luo Feng observed the imposing City Lord of Desert Wind. Yet, once successful, every transcendent of primal chaos realm who uses the primordial bloodline is incredibly formidable. For instance, Marquis Chu Yuan, even when not fully trained, Luo Feng could not kill him even if he turned him to liquid. But once fully trained, the transformation in strength is immense. This video will end here.